Lead story from Monday, July 24th. 50 years ago, Bill Gates and Paul Allen's agreement with the MITS for a basic interpreter for the Altair 8800 microcomputer launched Microsoft's influence personal computing profoundly. This collaboration transformed technology, paving the way for PCs, Microsoft's global dominance, and the eventual rise of Linux and modern computing ecosystems. I want to welcome you to episode 1835. I'm your host, Todd Cochran. Yes, 50 years ago this week, they made this deal. And of course, they made this deal with MITS and the deal with the as yet unnamed partnership between Gates and Allen was to provide a basic interpreter for MITS Altair 8800. There are many contenders for the first microcomputer or first personal computer, in which any one of those, each of us old guys favor depends on how they find some of the terms. But the MITS Altair ticked a lot of boxes. MITS, I think is how they pronounce it, and set the pattern for a lot of the future in the computer industry. And again, it used a 8080 microprocessor, not a bunch of discrete parts. It was modular. Again, it was built from cards that slotted into a bus to form of which was later standardized as the S100 bus. But rather than an expensive workstation like an IBM 5100 aimed at scientists and so sought after the people that will travel back in time to find one, the Altair was aimed at hobbyists, kitting out one enough well enough to run a CPM would have cost $4,000 or more. And with a 1 kilobit of RAM, you could toggle the 8080 instructions into the 8800 using the front panel switches. But if you spend another $264 for 4 kilobits of memory, it could do something much more interesting. It could run BASIC. Again, the famous Microsoft 4K BASIC. Microsoft's first product, which the Register was reporting on half that time ago, again, it was co-written by Bill Gates and the late Paul Allen and Monte Davidoff, who gave an interview to the Register some time ago that you can go back and listen to. But you look at Bill Gates in 1975, and he definitely, is just a teenager, a very, very, very smart teenager. Which, if you compare the picture compared to Bill Allen, Bill Allen at that time looked quite his senior. So, I think my first experience with what would really be considered a basic computer was the Trash 80, the TRS 80, in probably probably 80, 79, 80. It made my first exposure to an Apple machine at the time. May have been 82, somewhere around there. Um, Boy, they were amazing. And I think even when I was, and my TRS 80 that I had, you save the code to a tape, and it works sometimes. It didn't always work saving the code. So when you loaded code, which was basic, you really had to make sure that everything transferred over and nothing was garbled. But 50 years ago, and boy, oh boy, how far we have come. And I think one of the first things I wrote on, or didn't write, I didn't really probably didn't write anything. I definitely you loaded some of the programs that were available. I think it was Hangman. Hangman was the the game that I loaded, was one of the first ones. Might even been Pong. I can't remember. Maybe there wasn't enough memory for it. I don't know, but um, a lot of fun in those very, very, very early days. But yeah, we passed the 50 year mark today, and not today, a couple days ago this week. So hard to believe how far we have come. Hey, I want to welcome you to episode 1835. Again, I'm your host. A shout out to our incredible sponsor at GoDaddy. Explore exclusive deals and discounts at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And to all of our listeners, you are the heartbeat of the show. If you want to support GNC, head to geeknewscentral.com/insider and become a GNC insider. We are live and lit. Don't just listen, experience the show live by grabbing a modern podcast app at podcastapps.com. You can listen in real time. And of course, check out the full Geek News Central universe at geeknewscentral.com. Again, where you'll find all of our partner shows and tons of new content. Stay in the loop, follow or subscribe to the podcast via your favorite app. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter at geeknewscentral.com. It's a little bit down on the sidebar for even more insider scoops. And of course, you can join the conversation at geeknews.chat, or you can email me directly, geeknews@gmail.com. You can hit me up on X at Geek News, and you can even catch me, of course, over on Facebook. Of course, as a listener of this show, we want you to save money, and we've got some fantastic deals from GoDaddy. Let's start with a website or a podcast. GNC codes make it easy and affordable to grab GoDaddy's economy hosting for just $6.99 a month. That's a full year of hosting with a free domain name. Of course, you get professional email and a SSL certificate to make sure your website secure. Interested in WordPress, which of course is the one I've been using for many, many years. WordPress managed hosting is just $12.99 a month, which includes a free domain name, again, professional email, and again, that all important SSL certificate. If you need a domain name, you can get one for $11.99. But if you're looking to get started and you're not technically inclined at all, you can get that GoDaddy website builder. You get a free 30-day trial of personal business and business plus plans. Of course, I use all of the GoDaddy products and service, and your support keeps this podcast alive. Use our codes, click and save. You're backing an independent team of creators. Share my codes or website with friends and family, because every time one of my codes is used, it supports Geek News Central, thinking for keeping us line and going strong. One thing I have run into, and there's nothing I can do about it, is my Umbrel, which has a 1 terabyte SSD attached to it, has a very, 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 very full hard drive. And the Bitcoin node has grown so big, I need to upgrade hard drives when I get home. But I've attempted to do something called pruning, which scares the living crap out of me, to get some hard drive space back in the interim. So if you're boosting the show, be advised, might be a little bit of challenge, but definitely got to get that hard drive space increased. And I have a 4 terabyte SSD waiting for me when I arrive back in the States. It just climbed unexpectedly. It was it surprised the crap out of me. We were doing good on storage, and all of a sudden, boom! It jumped, and yeah, um, not necessarily good in any way whatsoever. So the Bitcoin node keeps failing because of the lack of hard drive space. So yeah, it kind of sucks, and there's really nothing I can do about it except hope that the pruning action um, is going to help things to get started here. So what am I trying to do? All right. Yes, I want you to restart, because yeah, the Bitcoin node failed again. So hopefully the reboot and the pruning mechanism will help. All right, let's go ahead and get into our stack. OpenAI could drop GPT-5 in August, a report says. And the folks at Mashable, and this is just a note for Kirk if you're listening, The Verge has almost become impossible to cover because they're always asking for money. So maybe we should pick alternate articles for these for the prep, just because of The Verge being not letting you read stuff. And so there's plenty of other websites creating content. But again, OpenAI could drop GT5 in August. That would kind of follow along maybe some previous history. Been some interesting comments being made by Sam Altman. I'll be covering some of that a little bit later in the show here. But he has basically said he's been doing some testing and he's got questions, and he got emailed a question that he didn't quite understand, which I would be surprised that Sam Altman wouldn't understand a question he was asked. And he used GPT-5 to respond to the email. I'm just, at this point, I'm still not using ChatGPT to respond to emails, but there's some stories out about people that are becoming a little bit too reliant upon it, and we'll talk about that as the show progresses today. There's a proposed bill. A bipartisan pair of U.S. senators have introduced a bill this week that would protect copyrighted content from being used by AI training without the owner's permission. Content creators from large media companies to individual bloggers could effectively block Google, Meta, OpenAI, Anthropic, and so forth from others appropriating their work. And, you know, this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If passed into law, this AI Accountability and Personal Data Protection Act would add new federal tort allowing individuals to sue companies that use copyrighted works or personal identifiable information to train AI without the owner's express prior consent. As an independent content creator and the way search is changing, the only way I feel that I am going to survive as a site that has 15,000 plus written articles is that the content has to be indexed by ChatGPT so that my site is recommended in results or cited. But again, we've already seen huge drop offs in web traffic because people are using ChatGPT and other services for search. And Google is, got to be worried about this. But it's very, very scary for a person who's trying to have a global reach. If you don't have a breadth of data, this party can be over real quick for the natural web, and that's very, very scary. Um, that you could be made irrelevant just by a large language model putting an output out um, on an answer or a research to a question without getting an appropriate reference and the traffic for that work. So again, it's a do if you it's not a great situation. You're going to end up one way or the other. Again, do if you're damned and do if you don't. So again, I haven't heard a lot from you folks on this particular topic, and I'd love to hear back from you on what you think in this regard. And don't be afraid to drop me an email here at geeknews at gmail.com on your thoughts on this exact topic, especially if you work for a business that relies on a lot of web traffic. Starlink satellite internet is back online after a massive outage. Starlink reported that they couldn't. Starlink users reported that they couldn't connect to SpaceX for a few hours today, and widespread Starlink usage outages were reported. My UI device um, that for Unify was basically I could see the outages happening even at my own home. So a little less than an hour. of an outage, and actually 3 hours, 2.5 hours. And so they had something go on in their major control center. All ISPs have outages. You don't like to see them, and it affects companies and individuals right in the middle of the business working day. But this is what happens sometimes. So I just wondered how many people fell back to their iPhone connections. On a pretty serious note, if you have a printer, there's over 700 models that are actively being attacked by hackers. Printers by Brother, Toshiba, Fujifilm, Konica Minolta, and Ricoh are super susceptible to attacks thanks to security flaws. So you need to be updating your printer on a regular basis. And also, if you've never changed the default password on your printer, you need to change that default password. It's probably admin or admin password. You need to change that password to something else. And, I have a password that I use for devices in my home that's very complicated, um, very random pseudo. Just because I don't want my routers, I don't want my printers, I don't want anything touched as a gateway to get into my network. It's same thing applies to uh, my network attached storage devices. I have again very sophisticated passwords being used to access those devices, not something simple. This is what we have password assistance for these days, like OnePass. Use those. Do those random pseudo generated passwords and get them sent. Now, it might be a pain to type that into your printer. I understand, but maybe use abbreviated one, 6, 7, 8 characters at a minimum. But for goodness sakes, don't use 1, 2, 3, 4. Not a smart move at this point. Alphabet sees results soar, boosted once again by soaring AI and cloud demand. Google revenue is up 14%, driven by 32% growth in Google Cloud revenue. The cloud division's annual revenue rate runs now at $50 billion, and the Gemini app has approximately 450 monthly active users as they've essentially moved everyone from Gmail and using Google Apps into getting a Gemini. But Google revenue rose by 32% in the quarter to 13.6 billion. If you use Uber or Lyft, Lyft is starting to do something unique with its app. It's made a major update. They've given you the ability to give a much better review, and you have the ability to favorite a driver, and you have the ability to block a driver. I have never, well, there was a driver in Miami that I had that if I could have blocked, I would have blocked that I reported because he just drove like an absolute madman, even though I asked the gentleman to slow down. Um, but I like now how they automatically, at least in this image, show that you should do a 25% tip to your driver, and that's another whole topic in itself. Is the tip economy um, that's out there? Hey, we did get some boost. 1,000 sats from RW Nash. He said, "Todd, hope you get your fiber wired. Appreciate that." Also, had streaming sats that came in from folks as well. Thank you for that support. Of course, we had some PayPal donations come in. Curtis Parrish, $5. Daniel Lamux, $10. Mike Dellsworld, $2. Christian Picherier, $3. Gary Ebos, $10. SJG Media LLC, $10. James Fletcher, $2. Silas, we want to thank you for your streaming sats. Darren Schwartz for your streaming sats. Greatly appreciated for your ongoing support of the podcast for sure. And of course, we have the ability for you to support the show, and you can do that very simply by going to geeknewscentral.com /, insider. And looks like the Umbro has rebooted. Now the question is, will the uh, will the Bitcoin node smash the database a little bit so we can save some space? Time will tell. 1 billion of NVIDIA AI chips reportedly sold in China despite the US ban. This is not surprising to me at all. They're going to find a way to buy these chips because what they can't do on their own, they're going to steal, cheat, lie, rob. They don't care. They have absolutely no ethics whatsoever. It should be expected at this point. And the black market for these chips are going to suspectedly uh, other countries. And I'll be honest with you, if a country is or a group has been detected doing this, um, there should be heavy, heavy prosecution and heavy sanctions. We should not allow these chips to get into China, even though NVIDIA said, well, even if a billion chips get in there, there's not a lot they can do. Well, is that true? Have you got it to the point where the chips have to be authorized and there has to be authentication and there has to be proof of ownership and IP logging and all the other stuff that should be from a security standpoint to ensure these machines are not being run in China? I know there's only so much they can do, but come on, let's uh, let's make sure that the right people are using these chips. T-Mobile's Starlink satellite service officially launches, and if you have a phone um, that includes iPhones from the iPhone 13 onward and the Samsung Galaxy S21 and older, and Pixel phones going back to as early as the Pixel 9, they're supported. There's about how many total devices? 60 that are supported. Now, here's the kicker. If you're on T-Mobile's Go 5G Next or Experience Beyond plans, you get T-Satellite included for free. Other T-Mobile customers can access to it for today for $10 per line. Now, no data. This is only um, sending and receiving text messages. It doesn't offer any data or any other services that, as comparably, Apple supports. So be aware of that when you're getting ready to pay your $10. It doesn't mean you're going to be out in the middle of the desert and have the ability to surf Geek News Central. You'll have to have a different solution for that. Clorox, the bleach company, I guess they sell more stuff than that, has sued Cognizant for 380 million over the 2023 hack. Clark is blaming them for the cyber attack, claiming the IT provided handed over passwords to the hackers. So we'll see where this goes. 830 million, 380 million from Cognizant and includes $49 million in remedial cost. So we'll see how this lawsuit proceeds. The rumored DJI vacuum gets a launch date, an official teaser, and it looks like the ROMO, the Romo, is arriving sooner than expected. The video teaser was shared by regular DJI leaker Jasper Ellens and is apparently taken from the official Chinese DJI Romo account. It shows two versions of the Romo side by side with a date and time of August 6th on 8 p.m. Look and see, did it say how much the device is going to cost? No, but I would expect probably upwards of close to $1,000. Um, I think this is great, to be honest with you, and I can't wait for the reviews on this. My loft is very, very complicated, for a robot to vacuum. There's throw rugs, there are, with some that are plush and some that are flat, and then there's, flat surfaces, with tile, and it it basically and a lot of obstacles. And if this thing is good at obstacle avoidance, I will be, very inclined to maybe pick one of these up at some point, in the future. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. Apple has introduced the Apple Care One plan, streaming coverage into a single plan with incredible value. Now, this really will not work for me because of the number of devices. But if you have a tablet, if you have a iPhone and a computer, you can get 3 devices. For 19.99 per month, customers can protect up to 3 devices in one plan with the option to add more at any time for 5.99 per month. So, I guess one will have to do the math here to see what the delta is between buying Apple. So, I don't buy Apple Care, for my iPhones, and here's the reason why. Um, I essentially pay outright cash, or my company does for the iPhone. So if I break it, drop it, it's going to be on me to get it repaired. I've been using Apple TVs and other devices long enough to know they just don't break. They don't. I typically will put Apple Care on tablets and on laptops, and I don't even put Apple Care on my Apple Watch. The reason I do on tablets and on the computers is because you break a screen, it's pay for itself instantly. Now I've never broke a screen, knock on wood, but do you do the same? Do you only put Apple Care on your tablets and on your computers, or do you do your phones as well? And I know some folks, if depending on how you're getting your iPhone, you may be required to have insurance. And sometimes insurance through third parties like your mobile provider might be cheaper, but I'm not big into these. If I can pay once and be done, or pay for a 3-year contract and be done, I'm good. By the time the computer's 3 years old, if I break it, then probably won't feel bad in buying another machine. But I've got Macs that are more than Mac Pros that are more than 10 years old that are running strong. And keyboard might have a little bit of an issue or something like that. And I use them in the studio in Hawaii to basically be heads up systems for me in watching chat and different stuff that I'm doing. New York is seeking public opinion on water system cyber regulations, and I think if you live in New York, especially, and if you pay for water there, um, which I know some people are on wells, they've released a proposed cyber regulation cover waterwork corporations, cable television companies, and other public utilities. But these are very minimum standards for improving water infrastructure and resilience against sophisticated cyber attacks on IoT devices and other infrastructure IP. I think this is a situation where the consumers have an opportunity here to say, "Hey, we want not just minimum standards. We want things to be, want our infrastructure to be secure. We really, really do." And it's your chance to put input on that. So consider doing so. SpaceX has launched a pair of NASA satellites to probe the origins of space weather. The twin spacecraft are part of the NASA funded Tracers mission, which will spend at least a year measuring plasma conditions in narrow regions of the Earth's magnetic field known as polar cusp. As the name suggests, these regions located over the poles. So, for example, an extreme geometric storm last year degraded GPS navigation signals, resulting and more than $500 million in economic loss. And I wonder how they figured that, to be honest. In the agriculture sectors, farms temporarily suspended spring planting in 2022. And so they want to understand this. Now, it's not going to stop it. When there is a solar flare and this happens, there's only so much you can do. You just got to wait until it dissipates. Um, they can study it all they want, but it doesn't change the simple fact that you're going to have, um, it's just going to be an issue. There's an interesting article over at Digital Trends. They're saying why home internet beats 5G hotspots for speed savings and reliability. Well, I think we all know this. But some people don't have a choice. Some people are on their 5G networks in their homes because, like me, there is no internet. And if you have a mobile device that has good connectivity, it's a great option for you. And it may not be perfect. The advice is get a Starlink or, you know, uh, like me, wait until hell froze over, which just recently did. Looks like I'm getting fiber. Again, I'm still shocked that I'm going to get fiber. I'm just blown away, and I look forward to being able to order fiber. I really am. Um, so it's exciting time for me, but we'll see what happens here. Now, one thing that I remembered, I did submit to Frontier to be put on a list um, years ago that I would want fiber if they brought it to my area. So I wonder if I had some neighbors that did the same. Again, how they routed it in my neighborhood is pretty remarkable. I could have been again a whole mile from the fiber connection. Um, so maybe maybe that influenced it. Who knows? Um, Sam Altman had another comment about collectively deciding we're going to live our lives the way AI tells us feels really, really bad, even to me. And he says it's bad and dangerous. He was speaking at the Federal Reserve banking event. He says people rely on ChatGPT too much. There's young people say things like, "I can't make any decision in my life without telling ChatGPT everything that's going on. It knows me. It knows my friends. I'm going to do whatever it says." That feels and again, are we doing this, ladies and gentlemen? This comes after new data found that ChatGPT received over 2.5 billion prompts a day from more than 500 million listeners. And last month, following a major ChatGPT outage, um, the folks at Radar wrote how AI is generally helping millions people get through life. And while that seems to be the case, there's also a worrying number who use the tech so much they can't cope with life without it, which is scary. Tech writer said during the 10-hour outage, I received emails from ChatGPT users who hadn't written emails in months without the help of AI to use the technology to help them with online dating and work and so forth. I still write all my own emails. Um, Most emails don't require such a long response that I need ChatGPT for. And it just feels so impersonal. And the number of emails I get on a daily basis is probably down that I have to respond to. It's probably under 50 a day. So I don't know. Again, where are you on this? Are you addicted to using ChatGPT for everything? Is it leaving you feel anxious? Um, I did we use a ticketing system. think it's called Zendesk. I can't think off the top of my head. Yeah, maybe Zendesk. And we had a hell of a time getting the data exported out of. Matter of fact, my son, who's doing the internship with Blueberry right now, wrote the AI interface and pulled the data down, and we got it in a CSV file. Matter of fact, they defaulted to JSON, which is kind of crazy. So, but we got things into into a spreadsheet, and there's literally thousands of customer tickets in there. But it also tracks things like missed calls and outbound calls. So you had to do a bit of pruning, and we're using now ChatGPT to do data analysis on our tickets. What's trending up, what's trending down, where do we need improvement in response? In other words, tickets that took two, three, four responses to get a result. Every time a ticket has to be responded to, that's more time that my support team could be doing other things. So we're building a data set that's going to allow us to address specific nuanced issues. And again, if let's say I got over a year, 25 tickets on a specific topic, well, then I can build a dedicated auto response to that specific topic. Do that once, have it ready to go to cut and paste and put in the system. At the same time, you can build fixes in the system. If there's something that is repeated, the customer's having issue with, whatever the topic may be, you can say, okay, let's spend a little dev time here and make improvements. Um, I probably in this initial run of data research, which I didn't spend a lot of time on. It was kind of like maybe a 15 to 20-minute quick look, which I'm going to spend more time next week doing a deep, deep, deep dive. I got some stuff that's maybe that's worth, we're gonna need to take a look at that. Um, so I think it can be used in reasonable ways to help you make good decisions in your business environment. But I don't know about again writing emails. I'm seeing a lot of emails come into my inbox, though. They're definitely written by a bot, especially folks that are looking to do my business. People that are doing business development, trying to get you leads. All those emails are nearly identical. Microsoft SharePoint attack now sees victim count rising to 400 organizations, including a U.S. nuclear agency. So again, this is bad. The hackers named Linen Typhoon, Violet Typhoon, and Storm 2603 are primarily coming out of China. So again, up to 400 organizations have been affected already. Now, iRobot has a new Roomba as well. The Roomba Max 705 combo will automatically deploy a mop cover to prevent your carpet from getting wet. So if it transitions from a hard floor to a carpet, I really don't need a mop per se. But it's one thing about these devices, and I kind of talked about a little bit earlier here. It's best if you have all carpet or no carpet, but I know most people don't live in that type of an environment. A Swiss startup says its AI weather forecaster beats Microsoft and Google, and Swiss startup Jua 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 has launched a weather model. Claims it's faster and more accurate than most Microsoft Aurora and Google DeepMind GraphCast in separate peer-to-peer reviewed studies. So they back up this bold claim within a report published today that puts the EP2 head-to-head with top-tier models. According to the paper, delivering the most accurate forecasts around the world, it beat Aurora on key variables like 10-meter wind speed and 2-meter air temperature over a 10-day period. Ran forecast 25% faster and posted lower error scores of all models tested. I guess we're not going to need meteorologists soon. That probably is not unless you're going to go into a sub career. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a heavily affected job uh, with AI. Apparently, Google Assistant's been having a rough few weeks, and Google actually responded and said, "Yep, we see some issues. We're addressing them." So if Google Assistant has been a little bit weird, this is they know. Um, I don't use Hey Alexa and Hey Goole very often anymore. Especially when I'm on travel, I don't even. Well, I guess my Fire Stick could respond, but I don't use it that way. Dior has told customers their data was swiped in a cyber snafu. LVMH owned Dior, the French purveyor of overpriced garments and fragrances, confirmed in a breach notification letter filed with California's Attorney General that U.S. customers' data had been accessed during a recent attack. So they didn't say exactly which data, but except that it was. So if you have a significant other or you are the significant other that shops at Dior, yeah, they looks like they maybe have your info. Tesla bets on bot smokescreen as political and market reality bites. Yeah. Speaking of Tesla investors last night, CEO Elon Musk was optimistic about the future, but quick-witted observers will be the first to point out that when he started talking about Optimus, that definitely had nothing to do with Tesla. So they know that their profits had slid 23%, and we know that Tesla shares fell almost 7%. I'm still going to bet on Tesla. I don't own any of the stock. I can't afford to own any of the stock. But if I could, I would probably buy some of their stock. Maybe a good time to buy when it's down. One thing that's going to happen. This is going to happen to every car manufacturer with all of the incentives and rebates and all that stuff that is being afforded them going away. Um, time will tell how this is going to ultimately affect them. Intel has beat a shareholder lawsuit over $32 billion stock plunge. And a federal judge dismissed a lawsuit accusing Intel of defrauding shareholders by concealing problems in business where it manufactured chips for outside companies in their foundries. And we know that their stock sunk 26% in last August, and again of last year, not this year. And with 15,000 layoffs, and they suspended dividends in hoping to send 10 billion in 2025. So the lawsuit is not going to continue. Google's tool for virtually trying on clothes is now available in the United States. It arrives with better price tracking. So Google previewed a new AI-powered feature that the company said would simplify online shopping. The tool allows you to upload a single full body photo of yourself. Now, what do you wear when you do that? What do you take a picture of if you want to see if something is going to look good on you? Do you wear a t-shirt and shorts? What is the clothes they want you to wear when you upload the picture? That is the question here. One thing's for sure. I've now at the 20 pound in weight loss mark, and I'm kind of stuck. I haven't really moved in the last 3 or 4 or 5 days, so it's one of those times it kind of happens when you're losing weight. You kind of hit and then it'll go again. But sure is frustrating when you're stepping on the scale every morning and logging your weight. The I'm gonna have to order some new pants or dig. I maybe have some pants in. Yeah, I probably have some pants in my closet that will fit that when I got down to a 38 before, because I'm definitely waist sizes. The pants that I'm wearing here that you know, are definitely requiring a few more belt notches and scrunching of the pants, fellas. You kind of know how that goes. At least it isn't. At least the belt line isn't tightening. But yeah, I guess you upload yourself in shorts and a t-shirt, and They show you what you look like in a specific clothes that you may be looking to buy. So, a little more on Intel, and I sorry I didn't have this group, but Intel abandons European manufacturing sites as part of the turnaround plan. So, this chipmaker reported better than expected revenue, but still suffered $2 billion in loss in the second quarter, and which it attributed to one-time cost as part of the turnaround plan. At the same time, Apple has released the first iOS 26 public betas and mixed reviews. Some people are in love with the glass effect, some people not so much. And, it's coming whether we like it or not. And I've seen some stuff from folks that are really, really, I guess for a better word, troubled in that they're going to have to rework some of the stuff in their apps. Um, so there's lots of examples here that you can see um, in the two articles that I'll have linked up in the show notes. But I think time will tell on whether or not this is going to grow on us and whether people are going to like it or not. Um, Google has a new web guide that it's a search experiment that organizes results with AI. So this AI powered featured web guide is a Search Labs experiment that I wonder if they're talking about comparison to 11 labs here. There maybe that's who they're trying to compete with. Search Lab experiments are a way of Google to test out new ideas by letting users opt into those they find interesting. These experiments can be turned on or off at any time, including things like Google AI Mode, Notebook LM, filmmaking flow, and other niche ideas. Um, the web guide experience a variation on the fan out techniques for displaying search results that Google is already using with its AI mode. And Google suggests the feature works well for open ended search queries like how to solo travel in Japan, or even more complex multi sentence queries. For instance, you could ask, my family is spread across multiple time zones. What are the best tools for staying connected? Again, we know that other folks are doing this already. But again, this new web guide is a new search experiment. I think they're worried. I really am. I think they're worried about their search revenue going down, down, down. Now, the president, in a very interesting comment, said that AI companies can't be expected to pay for all copyrighted content used in their training models. Says it's not doable. Well, I think lawsuits in progress are going to figure out if that's the case or not. Um, Speaking at the AI summit, he says you can't be expected to have a successful AI program where every single article, book, or whatever you've studied, you're expected to pay for. We appreciate that, but you can't just do that because it's not doable. And if you're going to try and do that, you're not going to have a successful program, referring to an AI program. Um, Says we can't afford to fall behind the Chinese because the Chinese are indexing everything and stealing IP, and they're definitely not going to pay for a single thing. I agree in that regard that the Chinese are not going to pay for a single thing. Um, you already heard my commentary at the beginning of the show today, talking about my thoughts on. Again, I've given all of the AI models permission in this show to take this content, take my website's content, to analyze it, to be able to reference it back, hopefully to my site with citations and links, because I know that this transition is going to continue. I just look at the queries that I've been running in Operator on OpenAI, and things are going to change dramatically, folks, if it hasn't already for all of you. I was in a meeting today, and the team members were talking about how they were doing certain things within. These are very, 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 very smart people doing a specific thing within Google. And they said, "Yep, I can do about 25% of my job, helping me be more efficient, but not everything is understood. The nuances aren't understood, and that's where someone um, with good knowledge is going to understand where the nuances are and where something was missed. So the challenge will be is because you're going to have super creative people creating super creative, um, res- basically queries and getting responses and super awesome interfaces. Who's If that person's not a quality assurance person and not the subject matter expert, how are you guaranteed to get the best output? But then again, how do you grow people to become subject matter experts if all they're using is chat GPT to get the answers, and they may not know that they missed something in a nuance because they've not taken the time to study and to learn what they need to know to properly support a client. AI training is at this point not going to get it completely done, but in 10 years, maybe it'll understand the nuances better. It's not going to be too long where you're literally going to be talking to your computer. Um, many of you probably already are. You're going to say, uh, computer, it's going to be totally Star Trek. It really, really is. Um, it's just like this query I wrote the other day for operator. I could have verbally said that, let it go off and done the operation, and then it could have reported back to me, would you like to hear the results or read the results? Um, it feels like we're going to get to the point where the levels of this knowledge and the level of agentic AI and these next things that are coming. Um, again, if you are close to retirement, you're probably okay. But if you are in the middle of your career and you are not embracing and leaning into this and not using these tools, um, you're going to wake up without a job. You really are, and that's just a pure fact. That's what's going to happen. Hey, if you like today's show, don't forget to support our sponsor. And more importantly, maybe consider becoming an insider with a 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, or $25 donation or a one time donation to the show at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Of course, again, thank you for support for GoDaddy. We should be getting the monthly report here soon on how the performance was. But as always, if you have comments on today's show, geeknews@gmail.com, at Geek News on X. I'm still finding lots of great commentary and conversations over there. So don't forget, we also have a Mastodon chat server at geeknews.chat that you can join. Just say that you're a fan of the show for the reason of joining, and I will approve your entry into the Mastodon chat server. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'll be back with you on Monday for another edition of the Geek News Central podcast. Stay froggy, stay safe, and take care out there. Have a great weekend.